Oh, hey everybody. Austin here. I hope you had a great Sunday. This week we were in the fourth and final week of our series called This Is Us. That's a series where we were trying to remember who we are as a church so that we can move forward faithfully into the future. We talked about key ideas or scriptures that were just kind of core to Vista's identity from the very beginning. And so Dave talked about community the first week. I talked about being a church where sinners are welcome the second week. Dave talked about generosity and stewardship last week. And then we wrapped things up, this week by looking at Luke 15, verses 11 through 32. That's the story, that's kind of the parable of the prodigal son. You can read that as a group to kind of prime the pump. Secondary text was Matthew 20, verses 25 through 28. So read your Luke 15 text and your Matthew 20 text in preparation. The big idea was that many of us are stuck in what I called like this suspended or rather extended spiritual adolescence, where we are always walking around the world like a guest, but we never grow up and kind of take ownership of our church or our family or our community or our world and start acting like a host instead of a guest. Our four questions are, and remember just for our format, we kind of simplified the questions because the goal is not to just fill in the blank on an answer because we don't really grow any or learn anything about each other by filling in the blanks. No, the goal is to really engage the question and to kind of disclose your heart and what's going on with you and how a text or an idea is really working on you and not just fill in the blanks. All right, so our first question is, what was most interesting or encouraging to you from the sermon? Second question is, what was most challenging to you from the sermon? Third question, now a little bit more specific. What makes it hardest for you to grow up and embrace your spiritual adulthood? Okay, so the metaphor we used was that a lot of us are kind of stuck being immature spiritual children like indefinitely. And sooner or later, you got to grow up and become a spiritual father or spiritual mother. And so maybe it's that you feel like you're too broken and you're waiting to get it all together before you become a spiritual adult. Or maybe it's that you've never really seen anybody do it, so you don't know what that looks like. Or maybe you feel like you shouldn't have to do that. That's a responsibility you shouldn't have. But whatever it is, what makes it hardest for you to grow up and embrace your spiritual adulthood? Next question, what can you do to help the Vista be a place where people are pushed to take ownership and act like host of a house instead of timidly walking around like guests forever? And again, it's okay to be a guest for a while, but like if you've been following Jesus for 5 years, you've been coming to the Vista for 2-3 years, then you can't just be a guest indefinitely. You got to take ownership and be a host. And so what can you do to help Vista be a place where people are pushed towards being host and not just guest? Our last question is just that the action step this week was to be a host and not a guest. Stop acting like a guest and be a host. And so are you finding ways to do that? And if not, how can the group help you? So I hope you all have enjoyed this series as much as we have. It's been a lot of fun. And I will see you, well, I won't see you on Sunday because you'll be at small groups on Sunday. So make sure you find a small group to go to for small group Sunday. And I'll see you back at the building on June the 16th.